Hello, welcome to week 2 of the August challenge. We are making a FieldZine, and if you are back again, thank you so much for joining me. If you are brand new here, welcome. Please do check out the video part 1 and go and grab your freebie to play along, and I would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. We are so glad to have you here. Now we are moving on to the second bunch of freebies. Now again, there were 2 pages for week 1. There are 2 pages again for week 2. We have 2 little specimen envelopes, I'm going to call those. We have some labels that say date, location, date and time, etc. We have, now bear in mind I've printed all of this 3 times, so there are 2 envelopes. There's not that many labels. It's just I've printed them 3 times. We have some little Polaroid style photo backs. We have some frames with a plain inside. 2 uses for those. And we have some frames with some lines inside for note-taking, observations, writing, etc. So I do have lots printed out. I'm going to move these aside for a moment. Oh, and we also have, some little fussy cut flowers. They're little dried flowers and a couple of wax seals. So pop those under there. So we have those 2. I'm going to work on this one first. So I'm going to give you a little story. I do apologise if it's going to bore you, but it made me extremely sad. So today is actually Thursday. I had planned on filming this on Monday. So on Monday I went outside to photograph some of the plants that are now dying back. So that was, I don't know the Latin name, but that's a lucifer. This is the buddleia. That's again the lucifer and the leaves. That's one of the agapanthus that's now dying off. Some more buddleia. There were a few plants. That's one of my lilies. And basically we found my hydrangea looked like that. So Monday, everything stopped to play in the workroom. We went to the garden centre, got lots of advice on what we needed to do to revive the hydrangea. So that's long story short. But I have photographs. Now, I have printed contact sheets. I can't tell you how to do this or how you would need to resize your photographs, but you need to print several on a page, and I printed them with 2 variations. These are the size that work better, so I'm going to use these. And I'm going to start with, I'm going to count how many pages I have that don't have a pocket. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 pages without a pocket. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to find 4 frames. I think there are 3 in the freebie, so you will have to print them multiple times if you're doing a double book like this one. This is our double book where we've put 2 zines together, and this is the single one which we're going to be doing in a different way. So I've got these. Now I'm going to go through my pictures and decide which ones I would like to add. I'm definitely going to be including that because that made me extremely sad. I'm going to go for these. So I have my frames. I'm going to start by inking the photographs. I've inked every element. I just haven't inked my photographs, which I'm going to do now. I'll speed this up. I'm not going to add any fabric. I'm not going to add anything under here because it's going to give quite a lot of bulk to the pages if I do that. An image to the frame, and like I said, if you can see this one, for example, it doesn't fit the top and bottom, but it fits at the edge. Now if you do them even smaller, you could have a white border all the way around. It's entirely up to you, but these little frames are not designed just for adding photographs. We're going to move on to something different when we use the other book, but you could use these white frames for sketching if you wanted to do a little sketch. You could also use them to glue things onto. For example, if you wanted to use dried or pressed flowers, you could add dried or pressed flowers to those. You could use book pages. We're going to do a couple of different things with the other zine. So I'm going to give you a few ideas when we come to using the other book. But for this one, I have taken photographs, and like I said, they didn't go out on a walk or anything dramatic. This was, I didn't go very far. This is all my garden. So we have 4 framed images. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 of my little note pages, and my handwriting is absolutely atrocious. So the date on Monday was the 11th of August 2025. I'm going to add that to this frame like that. So we have our little observation photograph. I'm going to add that directly to my page. And I'm going to put this little card in here so I can make some notes. The plant itself was actually in a pot. We've removed it from the pot, put it directly into the ground. Because the flowers on this particular buddleia were very, very small. It was a little offshoot from a much bigger plant we have further down the garden. So I'm going to pop this in here so I can make some notes about that particular plant, or my feelings, how I was feeling, what I observed while I was in the garden. I have written my notes down. And of course, we have a top pocket on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue my first envelope. And to save a lot of time, I've already cut, folded and inked these elements. I'm going to put that together like so. I'm going to go through my other images and find other buddleia images. I'm going to put those into my envelope. I'm going to slide those in that pocket. Over there. And I'm just going to add this to the little flap of the envelope. Right. So I'm going to, because I've glued the whole back of that accidentally, I'm going to add that to my flower. And now I'm going to glue this to the back of the envelope, but I'm only going to glue a small amount. That's going to stick there. I'm going to take one of my very little paper clips. Pop that on, and then this can slot in there. So I now have my little envelope in my pocket. So that's 2 pages done. So this one, I'm going to, location is home garden. So I'm going to glue my little label on. Add that. I now have my little card so I can make my observational notes. There is also a pocket here as well as on the top, but I'm not going to put anything in that for now. I think it's going to be quite bulky with my pictures. So this one, again, it was exactly the same date. So it's the 11th of August 2025 and the time was 9 a.m. You can see the sun is not quite as full as it did become on Monday. It was an extremely hot, humid day on Monday. So let's add that to our page like that. And again, I'm going to add my little piece. I'm also going to put the envelope in this pocket. So I've skipped one of the pockets from the top, and it's always an option to add little journaling tags or some folded paper so you can make more notes. And the idea of this whole project is to take it out with you and make some observations and record something to do with outside. I'm going to add my paper clip, but I'm going to add it this side. Now we've got one more to add. I've got quite a lot to say about this particular image. It really did make me sad. We've had hydrangeas in the past in a pot, and as soon as they have established, we've planted them into the ground. We've had advice on them before. Only this one got waterlogged. We had a few days of really torrential rain here in the UK last week, and we think that's probably what happened. It just waterlogged the plant. The other possibility is there is an issue with the roots, but we won't know that until we find out whether the plant comes back or not. Okay, so I've got quite a lot to say about this. That might not be big enough for me to write everything I have to say. Now, we have lots of other options in terms of flowers, but I want to move on to some of my Polaroid style images. I'm going to grab 4 of these. Now, on these ones, I'm going to pick, so that's a very happy one. That's a happy plant. That's a happy plant. Maybe a lily. I've picked 4 images of plants that are still flowering, and I'm going to trim these down so they fit into my little frame here. I'm not particularly worried if they are too small. I'm not very good at cutting a straight line. So we have those, and of course I'm going to have to ink them. And these are going to get glued straight into place onto my little frame. It's going to be another very quick video today. This project is not necessarily, it's more about the journey. This project is about the journey, and it's about taking some time to observe nature in whatever form that is around you, even if it is just the view of a sky out of your window. There are lots of ways to observe what's going on, and just taking that time to be a little bit mindful and giving your brain some nature goodness and some rest. Okay, so I love how they look, I really do. Now I'm going to again just pop a little label on a couple of these, not all of them. Put one on here, and one on here. Go that side. And we're going to use some of our pockets. last bit. Okay. So the little flowers you can use to decorate however you wish. Oh, that's not part of the digital. Ooh. Oh, I'll sort those out. I'll sort those out later. So now it's a very, very simple step, but we just have our little envelopes tucked in. We have our little snapshots. We have our little space to journal and to reflect on the image or what we saw at the time. I've got quite a lot to write about, and that's why I've left mine blank. So this is my little field guide so far. Now, if you don't have any access to any outside, we're going to fill this one in. We're going to complete this one now. Now I'm going to I'm going to take 2 frames and 2 of my Polaroids. Now you can get very creative when you do this. I have a bird book. Whoops, that's next week. I'm not going to show you that yet. I've got a bird book and I went through, I'll show you the book. So this is the book I have used, and I also used this book for my Instagram post if anybody has seen that. So I found some birds that we actually get in our garden. So we get blackbirds, we get wood pigeons, and we definitely get blue tits in the garden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these. I think I'm definitely going to use the wood pigeon because that is something we see all of the time. I expect in the region of 50 that visit our garden in the morning. Now I'm going to just line him up on here. We're not going to get the full wood pigeon. We're going to have to cut his feet off a little bit. Okay. But I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to use one of these. I am running out of these now, so I'm going to have to print some more. So what I could do is pin that on, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to slot this in the same. I'm going to slot that maybe into a pocket. Okay. So that's my little wood pigeon. I didn't ink it. I forgot to ink the wood pigeon. I'm going to put this right at the front because this is a really big part of our garden. But if you haven't got access to a garden, then of course you can use any book page images you possibly want. And I'm going to put that in there like that. Right. The next page, I'm going to include one of my Polaroids. This page is going to be another bird. Now, I think I quite like this little quirky bird here, upside down. Glue him into place. Now, obviously, this is a very basic way of putting all of this together. If any of you have been over and checked Corey's video, she did an absolutely amazing zine. She's put her zine together in such an amazing way. It's very elaborate, it's beautiful. So do go and check Corey's video out. Okay. Let's glue this. I'm not going to stick just to birds, so don't worry. Put that down there. Now again, I have the information. I actually want the bird name showing out. So that's my second page. So we have this one and we have this one. Now we do have a pocket on the back, but I'm going to work here for a moment. So this one, okay, so I can't tell you exactly what this is, but this is something that I dried in my garden from maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It's quite bulky, but that's okay. I think I'm going to put the glue on this side. So this is a pressed flower. You could always use stickers. You don't even have to use real flowers. Trim that. And then I still have so much trouble finding anything. Okay, so I've got a little washi here. I'm going to put a little line of glue roughly where I'm going to put my washi tape, just to hold this in place. That's probably a little bit bigger than it needed to be. Now, like I said, I don't know what the date was of this particular piece, but it doesn't really matter, especially if you're not using things from your own garden. I'm going to add this like that. Put that into my pocket. Love that. We've got obviously pockets here that we could do more on. Okay, and then my back pocket. This is the Observer's Book of Wild Flowers. So let's see if they're... I'm going to use this one, I think. Just trim that to fit. Now add the image, and then I'm going to cut out the name. This is the great thing about using book pages, is you have ready-made labels. They usually come with some kind of title. Put that there. And like, oh no. I messed that up a little bit. It's a little bit wrinkly, but the glue's dry. I'm going to put that into the back here. Now, like I said, I know this is very, very basic, very, very simple. But I just wanted to give you a few little ideas. And like I said, you don't have to stop at book pages or pressed flowers, dried flowers. Stickers would look fantastic on here. You could also use the fussy cuts from the freebie. We've got lots of side tucks and pockets that you can also add. So I'm going to put together one of my envelopes. One of the reasons I'm having to make this particularly quick is the heat today is it's about 30 at the moment, which is very hot for the UK with no air conditioning, and we can only open our windows a small amount because Luna, our cat, is an indoor cat, so she doesn't go outside. Now I'm going to put this in, I'm going to put this in here. There's nothing in that envelope at the moment. Use one of my little tiny paper, actually, just to give this a little bit more decoration. I'm going to use one of these fabulous paper clips that I have never seen. These were sent to me in Happy Mail. I'm going to use that. Okay, so that is another way of putting this together. And like I said, you could print as many of these as you want. You can use stickers, you can make your notes, but that is our little booklet. So I'm going to make my little notes downstairs in the cool. The freebie again is going to be on my Ko-fi link. Thank you for all of the wonderful comments from part 1. I know part 2 is probably not as elaborate as I could have made it. It is just too hot to work today in this room, I can't tell you. Oh, so that is the 2 zines. We've got the very basic one. straightforward zine where we're using book pages, parts of book pages and the images. Use some pressed flowers. You could use stickers. And again, more book pages. I did make a really bad job of that, but the glue dried so quickly. And then we have our more elaborate one, which is the two zines together, where I have taken photographs. I will make some notes on here. We've popped our envelopes in. We've got our little writing spaces for our observations. And these are now ready for week 3, which will be next Friday. I know it's a week to wait and I do apologise, but I hope you can have fun putting together week 2 or even making more than one. You could make lots of these. And what I thought would be really cool is if you found somebody who you could maybe swap yours with. So if you made a little zine of something at in your location and swapped your little zine with somebody in a different location, I thought that might be quite fun. So it's just something to think about. It's not something I'm going to organise in the Facebook group, but you can organise that amongst yourselves. Anyway, that's that. That's week 2 done. Sorry, it was a very quick video. I will see you very, very soon. We have some huge news coming. So excited, so nervous, but we do have some huge news coming. So that might be the next video, or there might be one in between. I will see you really soon. Take care. Bye.